Hi, everybody. I am so thrilled to be with you this afternoon. I get really giddy when I start to talk about video and courses. So I'm going to try to be brief with you all today because I light up when I'm on video. I think I see people in meetings and they light up when they get on video. And I think that that's really what we want to talk about today in the second half of our presentation and talk to you about how can you get that feeling, right, in your course, right? What we're doing online is so different than what we do face-to-face. So I really want to try to focus on what can we do to increase that engagement? What can we build into a welcome video to really work very hard and very intentionally on bringing your students into the fold from the outset and getting them to see that they can engage not only with the course, but with you in that space, right? Because it's just so different than what we do in a face-to-face course. But I would challenge each one of you to think about this as we move along. There are always ways where you can take what you do in a face-to-face classroom. You can take the things that you do well, that you do in that face-to-face classroom, and you can bring them to the online space. You can bring them to your online class, and you can impart those on your students and have a lot of the same feeling and the same effect that we can have. So I'm very excited to be able to share with you today. I'm going to share my screen and hope that I don't immediately share on the wrong window. And we will dive in here in just a second. Give me 2 seconds to rearrange a couple of screens so I see all of you, but also have information on the screen. And I don't even really need to back up. I've already been introduced, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Justin Daymeyer. I'm the Executive Director, Educational Technology. I've been here at the college for a little over a year. I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of Ivy Tech and to be a part of online education. I did my master's degree online and thoroughly enjoyed it. So for all of the reasons we talk about in terms of why students take online courses, that was me. And so I'm excited to be able to share my passion for video, as I talked about earlier, and to share my passion for online instruction. So a couple of things before we get started. I kind of want to give you an overview of where we're headed today. And we're going to do a little bit of an interactive component to this, just to kind of give you a feel for what that looks like. This is a little bit of a bonus aside from video. I've given you 2 items here, and I put these in the chat earlier. And I'm also going to quickly copy and paste those back into the chat so that you can have a look at those here in just a second. All right, 2 seconds here. All right. Make sure I got that pasted in there right. All right, so you can use either one of the methods that I put in the chat box. The web interface is easy if you've got a computer handy, but if you just like to have the webinar up on one screen, you can certainly use your cell phone, and you can text and interact with the poll everywhere that I'm going to do here in just a little bit. So what I want to accomplish with you today in the short time that we have left is I want to talk to you a little bit about why we should engage students with video. I think it's an important question to ask as you kind of set your mind around what you might want to do for that welcome video. Second thing I want to do is talk to you about tips for impactful videos. How do we get the biggest bang for our buck in the welcome video that we're going to put into that class? And then I'm not going to belabor the point about the tools that we can use to create them, but I think if we're going to talk about that welcome video, we want to acknowledge what the opportunities are that are available to you, both those that are free, both of those that interact with Ivy Learn, and then those that maybe, if you really geek out like I do, that you might want to pay a little bit of extra money to be able to take advantage of. And then maybe, just maybe at the end of that, I can talk to you a little bit about what we are doing as a team to try to bring all of those under one umbrella. And then I want to leave you some resources and some references so that if you want to learn more, you have that opportunity to be able to do a little bit more work and read a little bit more about the topic, because we're only going to be able to scratch the surface today. All right, so let me set the stage just a little bit, because I think that this is always interesting, okay? Just to understand how video impacts us as a society, right? And I'm not gonna judge, you can say this is good or bad, but it is what it is, and I think it's interesting to take a look at. So the total number of people who use YouTube is 1.3 billion with a B. It's a big number, right? So just think about that. Video is very deeply ingrained in what we do as a society today and the students that we're working with. There are about 300 hours of video that are uploaded to YouTube every single minute. In an average month, 8 out of 10 18 to 49-year-olds watch YouTube. Now just think about that age group, and I'm going to kind of dive in a little bit deeper on that here in just a second. The total number of hours of video watched on YouTube each month is 3.25 billion. Now, of course, this is worldwide, and I can skew that a little bit, but Just think about that, the amount of video that's consumed in our society. And then this is what really struck me when I was researching this a little bit the other day and preparing for this. The user percentage by age group, just look at that, right? Because it may not align with what you think about people and who is actually watching the YouTube. We tend to think that that's something that's confined to a certain age group. And if you look at the statistics, you're going to find that it really is a little bit more evenly distributed than you might think, particularly in that 25 to 34 year old age group and the 35 to 44 age group. Both of those having the largest percentage by age. I thought that was fascinating when I started to read that because my perception was not the same. I would have thought that that would have been a much younger component, but I think it speaks to us, what we're doing and the students that we're serving, right? You can find a very broad swath of students and their age and their demographics that we serve here at Ivy Tech, and you're going to find that they're in that age range, right? So just think about that as we're thinking about the power of video and what students expect to be able to encounter when they're interacting with things online. And I did not do this to scare you, I promise. I just thought it was a little bit interesting. Approximately 20% of the people who start your video, they're going to leave after the first 10 seconds. So you better darn well make it good, right? No pressure. But what hopefully by the time we're done today, what I'm going to be able to do is give you some useful tips on how to make it so that you don't fall into that 20%, right? You don't have students that fall into that 20% that leave you after the first 10 seconds. So let's try to get a little bit interactive because I'm just curious what you all think, okay? And so we're going to do a little bit of a poll everywhere. Okay, and so you've got some interesting things here. Let me prompt you with a question before you respond, okay? So the question that I want to ask you is, what's one word to describe video impact in online learning? One word and video impact in online learning. And we'll give you a little bit of soak time here to type in your responses. And again, I should have stopped sharing my screen so this doesn't come up as you guys are. Yeah, I might be biased. I might be skewing the results here a little bit, but this is fun. So keep those responses coming. I love to be able to see what you all are thinking, and I want to be able to capture everything you're thinking. And I'm going to take this away from me and share this with other people later on because it's always interesting to capture what you all are thinking. Now, I'm going to admit, I'm typically a tester. I test everything out. So I'm going to try to let this poll run in the background as I move on. If it cuts you off, I apologize. I'm just going to live with it. But I'm hoping that what happens is that this will run in the background for all of you. And then when we're all done, we can come back to this and I can share this with you after we're all done. And you can kind of get a capture and a picture of what all of you think that video and online classes can do. And I'm just going to say from the outset, you guys are all taking everything I have and everything I'm going to talk to you about, and you've got it right here in the word cloud already. So I think that you all sense what we can do with video in our courses. And so I want to transition now and talk a little bit more about why we should do this, right? So, all right. So let's talk about that. Why do we want to engage students with a welcome video? And you'll see right out of the gate, the one thing that we're all committed to, we want to make sure that we do is we want to drive student success, right? So that's going to be an undercurrent of everything that I talk about, but I also think it's important to understand a little bit of the research that's been done about why we should use video in our courses. So then when we start to think about our welcome videos, we can take some of that and we can maybe just apply that a little bit to what we're doing. So, the first thing I want to talk about is a little bit, and Kathy touched on this and what she talked about, and I think that it's very powerful, right? We want to be able to build that social presence in our course. And so Rourke, Anderson, and Garrison, this goes back to 1999, right? So when they talked about building that social presence and its impact on the classroom, right? So we have that ability to project our personal characteristics in an online environment. We want to be real people, right? Look at me. Right? I'm not putting up a Zoom background, right? And Doug, I'm going to be a little bit facetious here and call you out a little bit. You've got the wonderful background there with the books, but I'm going to show my students who I am. Look, I'm sitting in my basement, right? It's COVID times, right? So you can see me. I'm looking off on my other screen where all of you are. You see the funny painting on the wall. You see the recliner where I really like to work, but I'm not going to do that in a webinar. But this is me, people, right? And I think that when those students can see where you are and where you live and what you are, I think that just ties them more tightly to you as a person. And I think that's terribly powerful, right? Social presence is also important in online learning because it makes group interactions more appealing, right? It's more engaging. And then I think it's intrinsically more rewarding. So I did a little bit of an experiment. And if any of you watched my OISC session, I talked about Flipgrid and I talk about video a lot, right? And I anecdotally, I don't have any science to back this up. So if you're a scientist like me, I apologize, but I'm just going to give you the anecdote from my own experience. I saw my students in a much different light when I used Flipgrid for my introductory discussion board, right? Because all of a sudden I knew them, I saw them. And I'm just going to tell you from my own selfish vantage point, I connected with them more, right? When I'm grading their papers, I had a face, I had a name, right? And I had a voice, right? And that tied them to me in a way that I can't do if I never see them, if I never hear them, and I never interact with them, right? So building that presence and doing things like we're talking about now just connects us to our students, right? And connects them back to us. And maybe selfishly, that's the most important thing for me, is that I want to know my students, right? When I was a high school teacher, I knew my students because I spent so much time with them. So what can I do in my online class to mimic that and give me that? Because when we accomplish those goals, I think our online classes become just that much better. All right. So just a little bit to set the stage there, right? And then look, it also increases student interaction, depth of learning, and student satisfaction as we go forward. So a little bit more then about the instructor presence, right? So as I just alluded to, and this is really well researched, right? So welcome videos result in getting to know the instructor, right? So Aragon did some good research with this in 2003, and then back to 1999, we know that student participation tends to increase, right, when we're using video and those students can connect with their instructor, right? And we establish that presence in the classroom. And then finally, and last but not least, then we certainly want to talk about what we need to be able to do to meet student success commitments, right? We have two of them that are very important, right? So one is, as a faculty member, one of our student success commitments is to interact. Well, how else are we going to interact in the online space other than video? And I saw in the chat earlier that some of you like to use your voice when you're giving feedback, and that's one really, really good way to be able to do that, right? But when they see you, I challenge you, if you do the audio, give them video feedback, because you can do that in Ivy Learn. And I think that then that's like having a mini one-on-one with your student right there via video, right? So that's just a little bonus pro tip and a challenge. Give it a go. See how that impacts you as you're giving the feedback, and then also as your students, right, as they're receiving that feedback. And I think that you may see a little bit difference in how they take that. So that's a little bit, at least from my perspective, a little bit about what the research shows about why you should engage with video. So now let's transition and talk just a little bit more about what we should do to have impactful videos in our class. Look, I apologize. I'm a little bit of a K-12 teacher by nature. I taught high school biology freshmen for the bulk of my career. So if you see some things in graphics, it's just who I am. And I'm not going to shy away from it, right? And I don't think that you should shy away from who you are when you're doing your welcome videos, right? So a couple of things I think you should include, okay? First and foremost, be brief and be engaging, right? Have the energy. You are all passionate about what you do. Don't be afraid to show your inner geek, right? I geek out on, like I can geek out on a lot. I can geek out on biology. So if I have any biology teachers out there, you ever want to geek out on molecular biology and genetics, come talk to me. We'll go deep into the weeds. But share those passions, right? Be you, right? What connects you to that class? But be brief, right? We know, look, I said 20% of people watch a video tune out after 10 minutes or 10 seconds, sorry. So you have to make sure that you're holding their attention. It's not to say entertain, but it is engage with them, right? But then be yourself, right? Don't try to be somebody on video you're not. Look, I'm a little high energy. I get in front of a group of people and I get in front of a classroom, my eyes light up, right? I stand up at attention and I get super excited and I'm ready to go. That's not all of you, but that doesn't mean that you're not engaging, right? That doesn't mean you're not engaging if you don't have the same persona as somebody else that you see on camera, but just be you. The more authentic you are, the more relaxed and at ease you are, the better off your videos are going to turn out, and it's going to be really nice for you. And then finally, last but not least, welcome your students, right? So what do you want to do in that welcome video? And I want to emphasize this because this is really important to me. And I've watched a lot of videos as I've kind of gone through courses and watched all of the good work that you do. When you welcome your students, this is not a course overview, right? The one thing we want to avoid is that deep into the weeds details on the class. This is about you. This is about your passion. This is about the course. This isn't about walking them through your syllabus. This isn't about talking about plagiarism and etiquette and all of those other things, right? This is about welcoming them in and talking to them about what you like. Tell them a story. Tell them a story about how you got to where you are. Why are you teaching this content and why is it meaningful to you, right? People connect when you tell them stories, right? And Doug, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm picking on Doug today. I don't know why. It's because his picture's right underneath mine when I look at him. But the psychology of this, I think, is real. And Doug, you could tell me if I'm right on this one, right? When we connect with stories, right, psychologically, that lights up our brain, right? And we have that emotional feeling and connection to them, right? Doug, am I wrong on that?
No, you're right. In fact, that's why psychology is such a great subject to teach, because you can do that all day long.
Without a doubt, right? But I think all of us being aware of that impact on our students, right? Think about how you feel, right? When you hear a good story and you make that emotional connection. So if your students make an emotional connection to your story, and then you give them space to share their story, now you've really started to talk about how we're being engaging, right? And in that welcome video, right? If you post that in an announcement, you can turn on the comments for that, and you can have a really robust conversation about what that connection is. If you can do what I do with Flipgrid, if that's a tool you like to use, then you can have really interesting conversations with your students, and you can do it at a distance, right? But you're mimicking what you're doing in the classroom. And then there we go. And we're being all about positive and why we're in that course, welcoming to that, and why this information that we're going to talk about over the course of the term is important to you and important to them. And we can avoid all the other stuff that you can cover. And I think you should. It's not to say you shouldn't. I do think you should cover that in a course overview, but not in your welcome video. Right? I wouldn't cover that as people are walking into my classroom for the first time, would I? Right? When they walk into my classroom, I want to be welcoming, right? When I was a high school teacher, it's crazy, right? You shake their hand, right? As they walk into the classroom, right? You look at them in the eye and you greet them. Well, this welcome video is your opportunity to do that in an online class. All right. Enough of the tips. I could go on, but that's just something to get your mind churning. You are all wonderful individuals. You all have a uniqueness that is all your own, but just think about those things as you kind of plan out what a welcome video might look like for you. All right. I know we are short on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of click through here a little bit. These are all of the various tools that are available to you to be able to make video. Right. And I've kind of, look, I'm an organizer. So as you go across your screen from left to right, and then top to bottom, you go from Ivy Learn to Zoom to Screencast-O-Matic to YouTube to Screencastify. And finally in the upper right with Camtasia, they go in order of easy and free to a little bit more difficult and expensive. All right. And all of these tools have a wide variety of use cases and ways that we should use them. And with only 4 minutes left in our time together, I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to point out a couple of things about each tool. So Ivy Learn is great. Okay. Anywhere where you have the rich content editor, you can insert a video, right? And so you don't have to be crazy with your welcome video. You're not going to hit storage limits in your course if you do one 5-minute welcome video. So just take the leap, right? Just do the video. And if the only thing you do is click record in that rich context editor, and then you put that video in your course, that is a win, and it's a positive step towards student success, right? Because you've welcomed them to that class. So you don't have to be crazy, and you don't have to geek out in order to be able to do this and do this well. One caveat with Ivy Learn: it doesn't automatically caption your videos for you. The rich content editor does not do that. So if you want an eye towards accessibility, I would step down to the next level, which is doing what we're doing now with Zoom. Right? And a lot of you have taught virtually, you've done all of this work. So you know that if you create a Zoom video and you do that welcome video in Zoom, it'll automatically caption that. And then you can share that video back in your class really easily. But I would challenge you to do one more thing. Make the video and then upload it into YouTube. YouTube allows you to control the audience. It allows you to control who can see that video. It embeds into Canvas, Ivy Learn, really, really well, right? You get a consistent look and feel when you do YouTube, right? and it'll automatically caption that and give a really nice feel. You can put that in an announcement, you can put it in a page, you can put it anywhere and make it look really nice. So just a couple of things there. If I had to go to the top 3, Ivy Learn, Zoom, YouTube. There are other tools out there if you want to do some, like in a welcome video, I wouldn't do it, right? I'm not going to be doing a lot of call outs and highlighting and pointing and all of that crazy stuff, right? I'm just me, just be me. But if you want to make other videos for your courses and screencasts, Screencast-O-Matic, Screencastify offer you some nice free, very lightweight editing tools that you can use to create that. It's relatively simple to use. And I'll send out this slide deck later, and each one of these has hyperlink, so you can actually click on them and be taken to some more information about them. So that way I can leave you with something that is a little bit more impactful. The last thing I want to say, and this is a bit of a preview, and I know it's being recorded and somebody may yell at me, so don't hold me to this. I'm making no promises, but I am promising you one thing. Well, okay, I'm going to make one promise and then say, here's what we're doing to work on it. I promise you that the Ivy Online team and the instructional technology team is working on a way to take everything you see on the screen and combine it into one big, easy to use tool that lives within Ivy Learning, gives you the capability of all of this in one tool so that you can take the video that you do in your class and really take it to the next level. And you can find out at a granular level how much your students are watching the video. So I'm working very hard. My team is working very hard to make that happen for you, because that information for you is terribly important. So one, you can assess whether or not your videos are having an impact by how long your students are watching it. And you can get a little bit of sense of what they're doing and maybe potentially hold them a little bit accountable for actually having watched those videos. All right. We are really right at the end of time, and I want to honor that time for you today. So I have some resources here that I'll highlight, and that when we share this out, you'll have in this slide deck, just some things to think about. I've got some example welcome videos that I found from Oregon State University eCampus of some really good examples. I need to collate a lot of hours. Okay, we have so many really good welcome videos that are out there as I look at Ivy Online courses. I just need to collate them together. My team needs to work on that, get permission and share those out, because all of you are doing such good work. And I want to be able to share what you're doing in those courses and be able to share that with other people. And then I've got some resources that we've put together in our new Ivy Tech knowledge base around some of the tools that I've given you. And last but not least, then I've got some references for you on the scholarly side if you want to dive into this and take a little bit deeper dive into some of the things that we've had just a brief amount of time to talk about today together. So thank you so much. I had to rifle through that very, very quickly, but if you have questions, please, I'll stick around for a little bit and answer those for you. But thank you for having me and allowing me to share a little bit of my passion with you today.